Hey there! I'm bringing you a meatloaf recipe today. It's kind of like an individual sized meatloaf. Instead of making a big loaf, they're individual portions. So it's really tasty, has a lot of flavor, but really simple. It's only 3 ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make that now. Okay, so I have a bowl here, and I got my meat. I'm going to go ahead and pour my meat into my bowl. I have about 1.5 pounds, because I did have this, that was, I think it was 3 pounds, so I have half of that. I'm going to go ahead and pour it in. So I have the meat in the bowl. I'm going to add some sugar-free Hughes ketchup. This has 1 total carb in 1 tablespoon. And then I'm also going to add some Frank's Worcestershire sauce. This also has 1 carb, but in a teaspoon. So I'm going to add this 2 tablespoons at a time, and I'm going to add this 2 teaspoons at a time, because I'm not quite sure how much I'll need of both, so that's how I'm going to do it. Okay, so I ended up putting 5 tablespoons of the ketchup, so that's 1/3 cup. So what I was looking for when I was adding the ketchup is making sure that the consistency of the meat is a little smoother than ground meat usually is. So it kind of is, I don't know, a little bit more wet, and it kind of stays together a little bit better than meat does without the ketchup. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding the Worcestershire sauce. I know I said I was going to do 2 teaspoons at a time, but I really think that 2 teaspoons is not going to be enough, so I'm going to start with 4 teaspoons and let you know how it goes. Okay, so I put the Worcestershire in, so now I'm just going to mix it up. What I'm looking for in the Worcestershire's process of adding that ingredient is I want it to smell like Worcestershire. If it smells like Worcestershire sauce, then I know that it's going to taste like Worcestershire sauce, and the Worcestershire is really going to give the meatloaf the flavor that I want. How many times can I say Worcestershire in this episode? Okay, so I put 4 teaspoons in, but I could still smell kind of like the meat smell to it, so I'm going to add 2 more teaspoons. Okay, so this is what the end result is. I'm going to go ahead and break this off probably into 4 pieces and put it on a pan for baking. And I'm going to put it in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes at 350. I don't think I mentioned, I ended up putting 1/4 cup of the Worcestershire sauce. So I'm going to break this up into little mounds. So that's probably going to be too big, but I'll start with that. Okay, so I kind of resized them and was able to make 6. So I'll go ahead and pop these in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes, and then I'll go ahead and write up the macros for each one. I don't know if I'll end up having 1 or 2, but this is what I'm planning on having for dinner. So I took the meatloaf out of the oven. This is what it looks like. So they did shrink quite a bit. They're definitely on the smaller side now. And they've cooled a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a try and see how it tastes. It's really flavorful. You could taste the Worcestershire. It's really good. It's also really moist, I think because of the ketchup and the Worcestershire. So it has a nice texture to it. They were kind of falling apart, like some of them, like this one was starting to kind of fall apart because they're so moist and tender. So I think if you just add some ketchup on top of it, it'd be a good meal. And I calculated the total net carbs for each of these little balls, and each one is 2.8 grams of carbs. So you could very easily have 2 of these, and it would only be like 6 grams of net carbs max. But I feel like you'd be pretty full with 2 of these, and it'd probably taste really good with some mashed cauliflower, with some butter, because it'd be like a meatloaf and mashed potato kind of substitution. But yeah, that's the recipe. I think it turned out really good with the measurements that I did. 2.8, I think it was like 2.83 net carbs per little meatloaf, which is not bad, considering the ingredients I used had carbs in them. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you liked this recipe. Please put in the comment section below if you have any thoughts about the recipe, future recipes, if you have any suggestions about recipes you think I might like. I just reintroduced meat back into my diet, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things of cooking with meat and finding keto meat recipes that aren't all that complicated, but would be something that I would like. So if you know of any keto recipes, put it in the comment section. I'd love to hear what works for you guys, and love to hear what you think. So I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.